It was an ordinary Thursday afternoon in the bustling city of San Francisco. The sun cast a warm glow over the streets as people hurried to and from work, going about their usual routines. For Officer Liam Harris, it was another day on the beat. Nothing too out of the ordinary. Little did he know, this day would lead him to make a decision that would change his life forever. The discovery. Officer Harris was on patrol in the downtown district when he received a call about a suspicious vehicle parked outside an abandoned warehouse. The call seemed like one of those tips that usually leads nowhere, but something about it caught his attention. He drove over to the area, the faint sounds of the city's hustle fading as he approached the dimly lit alley where the car was parked. He parked his patrol car, stepping out with his hand on his holstered gun, just in case things escalated. As he approached the vehicle, he noticed the trunk was slightly ajar, as if someone had been in a hurry. Cautiously, he opened it. Inside, to his shock, was a duffel bag filled with cash. Millions of dollars in tightly packed bundles. The smell of fresh bills filled the air. His heart raced as he stared at the money, trying to make sense of the situation. The decision. Liam stood frozen for a moment. His years of training kicked in, and he knew he had two choices: call it in and turn the money over to his superiors, or take the money for himself. The thought of walking away with the bag was tempting. After all, he'd been struggling to make ends meet for years. His wife, Rachel, had been laid off from her job, and they were deep in debt, with bills piling up each month. This money could change everything for them. They could pay off their mortgage, settle the credit card debts, and finally breathe easy. It seemed like fate had dropped a solution right into his lap. But then another thought struck him. Who did this money belong to? Was it from a dangerous criminal operation, or was it from someone else in desperate need of it? More importantly, if he kept it, he would never be able to live with himself. He'd be crossing a line he couldn't uncross. He closed the trunk slowly, his fingers trembling as he reached for his radio to report the discovery. But just as he was about to call it in, something unusual happened. He noticed a slip of paper tucked under the duffel bag. He unfolded it carefully. The note was simple, but chilling. Take the money, and you'll regret it. Liam's stomach tightened. What did that mean? Why would someone leave a message like that? Was this a trap? His instincts told him that there was more to this than a simple theft. The mystery deepens. As Liam stood there, considering his next move, a car pulled up in the distance. It was an unmarked black sedan. He didn't recognize the vehicle, but the hairs on the back of his neck stood up as it came to a stop right behind him. 3 men stepped out, each of them wearing dark suits and sunglasses despite the sun starting to dip below the horizon. "Is this your find, officer?" one of the men asked, his voice cold and calm. Liam felt a rush of panic. "What's going on here? Who are you?" "We're here to collect what's ours," the man said, his smile devoid of warmth. "You found the money, but you didn't find the bigger picture, did you?" Before Liam could respond, the man reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, sealed envelope. He handed it to Liam without saying another word. The officer opened it slowly, finding a series of photographs inside. Pictures of his family, of Rachel and his young daughter, Sophia. The photos were taken from a distance, as if someone had been watching them for days. Liam's heart raced. "What is this? Who are you people?" "We know everything about you, Officer Harris," the man continued, his voice low and measured. "We've been following you for weeks, watching your every move. That money doesn't belong to us, and it doesn't belong to anyone who's not willing to follow the rules. You've got a decision to make. You can either keep the money, live a life of luxury, and be free from your debts, or you can give it back, stay true to the badge, and face the consequences. Liam's world seemed to crumble around him. His mind raced as he looked at the photos, his thoughts spiraling. Was his family in danger? What had he gotten himself into? These weren't just ordinary criminals. They were organized, meticulous, and they seemed to know everything about him. The ultimate test. Liam stood frozen, trying to process the situation. His instincts screamed at him to take the money, to protect his family and secure their future. But his conscience fought back harder. He couldn't betray everything he believed in, everything he stood for. He was a cop, and he took an oath to uphold the law, no matter what the personal cost. As the three men waited in silence, their cold stares never leaving him, Liam made up his mind. He wouldn't let fear control him. He wouldn't let the temptation of money destroy what he had spent his entire career trying to build. "I'm not taking the money," Liam said firmly, his voice shaking but resolute. "You can threaten me, you can scare me, but I won't be part of this. I'm calling it in. You can leave now." The men didn't move at first. The silence between them was suffocating. But then, the man who had spoken earlier stepped forward. "You're making a big mistake, Officer Harris," he said. "The money's not the only thing you've lost." Before Liam could respond, the men climbed back into their car and drove off into the night, leaving him standing alone, the duffel bag of cash untouched at his feet. The aftermath. The next few days were a blur. Liam did what he knew was right. He reported the money to his superiors, and the investigation began. The strange encounter with the men in suits haunted him, and he couldn't shake the feeling that his life was far from over. In fact, it had only just begun. But what shocked Liam the most wasn't the threats or the danger. It was the next morning when he received an unexpected call from his chief. "Liam, we've been going through the security footage from that area," the chief said. "It turns out that the money you found, it's part of a much bigger investigation. We've been tracking an underground operation for months, and we believe those men were part of it. Your report could have just saved lives, Liam." Liam's breath caught in his throat. The decision to turn the money in wasn't just about his family. It was about something far larger than himself. He had done the right thing, and now it seemed like fate had aligned to reward his integrity. The shocking conclusion. But just when Liam thought the ordeal was over, the phone rang again. It was a number he didn't recognize. "Officer Harris," a voice on the other end said, "I hope you know that the money you found, it's not just a simple cash grab. It's the tip of an iceberg. We know you're not done yet. The real question is, are you ready to go further? Because we've been keeping an eye on you, and you've just earned our respect." The line went dead. Liam stood in silence, his heart pounding. Whatever had just begun, it was far from over. The questions were still unanswered, and his decision to return the money might have been the right one. But it had set off a chain of events that he couldn't undo. Stay tuned for the next chapter of Officer Liam Harris's story.